talk today about how we actually move forward through a health transformation process. Okay, so in other words, right, how do we actually become healthier human beings, right? And maybe that means that you have an unpleasant symptom that is causing pain or some other form of suffering, or maybe it's a deep desire to do what you can to prevent illness in the future. Okay, so both of these are you know two ideas here that I'm super passionate about helping us all actually make happen. But what I wanted to talk about here first is how we don't make it happen, okay? And this is coming from what I really spent years doing, okay? So I am, traditionally trained as a biomedical engineer. And as I was pursuing this path, I really thought I was going to take it all the way through a PhD level, devote my life to research, being in the lab, there on the mat, being part of the discovery process. And what I discovered as I was spending more and more time in the lab, right, spending my life in a fume hood with my cells in a dish, studying them, I realized that what I really wanted to do was help take this information that other brilliant scientists had uncovered and to translate it into useful information that people like us could take and, again, actually use it to transform our lives in a beneficial way. Now, here's where I went wrong. From this very researchy scientist and engineering space, I then spent years being fully immersed in the research and using it to build up models and other science-based ideas that I believed I could teach the world. And through these teachings, people would make different decisions, right? It's a good idea, right? But for anyone who knows a thing or two about actually creating real change, you see very quickly how naive I was, because what I know now is that more and more and more information isn't the thing our world needs right now, right? I don't know if you've noticed, but if you look out there, we are overflowing, right? Some could say overwhelmed with information. And when it comes to the health sphere, there is so much to be known about what causes disease, what sort of behaviors, tie into how we feel and whether or not we do experience illness in the future. And again, it's this world that I fully immersed myself in for years. So what I can tell you is that there is always, always more to be known. And even more than that, and this is what hit me most strongly, was that as we spend all this time deep in this information, we find that it's actually conflicting, right? Now, there's a reason for that, and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. But what we'll stick with today is this idea that when we approach health transformation purely up in our heads, right? When we are trying to solve our problems purely with the constant seeking of more information, what we find is we spend some time down this rabbit hole over here, and then a piece of information takes us over here. So now we're over there. And then another piece of information grabs our attention and takes us off in that direction. And we find that over time, what happens is that we just end up jumping all over the place, right? And as we follow these different paths, we find that they are often so conflicting, right? Take, for example, all the popular diets that have sprung up in the past decade, right? And I will say this from my own direct experience being caught up in the science is, reading a book about the paleo diet and being amazed because the science was so interesting, and because the science was so interesting and this information was based on real data, I thought, wow, this has to be the best diet, right? This has to be the greatest solution for all of my health problems. Well, then from there we sprung keto. And at the same time, right, what's always been here has been a vegan or plant-based diet, right? We have all these different diet ideas. And at one time, right, searching after this answers to this question of which one is right? Which one is the best for us? I found that science can't lead us to those answers. And science can't lead us to those answers because it's simply the wrong question. There is no best diet for the human species. Instead, we need to ask a different question. So, shifting gears here, heading back to the idea I presented at the beginning. How do we actually create beneficial transformation in our lives? How do we feel healthier? And perhaps maybe even take action to ward off illness in the future, right? How do we do these things? Well, information can certainly help. Having high quality information certainly helps. But that information means nothing if you don't have an embodied process to bring it into. So that's what I really want to get at, right? How can we move forward in life with a process that allows us to be embodied, allows us to be in our own experience in the world? How do we know what is actually benefiting our own selves? And how do we know what is actually causing harm? How do we even, going one layer deeper here, feel into, right, and gain a deeper understanding of actions that have both, right? Have both a positive, beneficial component and maybe have a detrimental component. And I can tell you, when we're in the world of health, almost every single action is going to have both, right? So when you start living life in this space, thinking about this transformation that you're seeking from this perspective, what starts to happen is this recognition in what I told you earlier, that there is no one solution that is best for everyone. Heck, there's no best solution for one person that will solve your problems forever, right? Our lives, they're dynamic. Our lives are complex. Things are always shifting. So how do we know what is healthier to eat, right? What do we know what movement or exercise practices, habits are beneficial for us? Well, it's a big game, right? It's a big, somewhat complicated process. But what I can tell you to get it started, right? Taking your next step here, it has so much to do with getting out of this space that is living life fully in your head, always seeking more information from out there, instead of living our lives fully in that space. Can we take a little bit more time to tune into our own reality that is right here and right now? Can we feel, right? Feel in our own bodies. What is the effect of eating that food? No matter what the science says, no matter what the experts say, no matter what those other people on YouTube are saying, when you eat a Brussels sprout, when you eat a steak, when you eat rice or pasta or whatever the food is, when you eat that food in combination with other foods, right? What matters, right? In this step, what matters? How is that feeling in your body? It's simple, right? Can we take more moments to get away from searching for more and more information out there and feel what is actually happening right here? Now, before we wrap things up, I hope I made this clear in this talk, but what I am not saying anything that has to do with disregarding science, getting completely out of our heads, because I can tell you I've gone that direction and it doesn't lead anywhere good either, right? This isn't an either or, a battle of science versus embodied living. This is about bringing them together, right? How can we call upon all of the resources at our disposal? And how can we bring these together in an embodied way so that we become better and better at making decisions that are better and better for our own bodies, right? It's a skill, it's a practice, a skill we develop over time. It's not about finding the next right answer that's going to solve all your problems, right? It's a skill. And it's a skill we develop with this intention to spend more time feeling into our own experiences. And then when the time is right, reading that next book, reading that next article, listening to that next expert, bringing that in, right? Bringing in that external information into your own lived experience here. And pivoting, making new decisions from that place. It's something that we are going to repeat over and over again as we live life. And in doing so, we get to actually experience ourselves transforming into that direction that we want to be going. So I hope that this conversation helped you out today. If you feel anything arising in your head right now, I would love to hear it from you. I would love for you to share it in the comments. Let me know if this experience that is living in your head resonates with you, and what it means to you to feel more fully into your own lived experience. And of course, if you have not yet, please like and subscribe. It helps me, it helps you, so that when the next videos are coming your way. Yeah, let's leave it there. Thank you for listening today, and I will catch you next time.